Okay, students, right in front of you here is a story about the prompt which was given to you in mocks paper. Let's see how I have worked it out here for you. Please keep in mind that when I was checking your copies, most of the students wrote stories which revolved around bondings, being ditched by friends, or waiting long for your partners to reciprocate love and affection, or they were about a struggling parent who is trying to meet ends and is working abroad, far away from you, and the family is kept waiting for long, right? So there were some cliched plots. This one I think you will find a bit different because this revolves around fascism. This revolves around totalitarian regime. Totalitarian regime key living example is how the life is in North Korea for the civilians. You can check it out online that even that they have a thought police. You cannot even afford to go against the government. They are constantly monitored. There is strict surveillance. Everything is dictated and decided by the government, and you just cannot afford to disobey, or else you will find yourself behind the bars. This is a reality even in the year 2025 in North Korea. Like I said, you can check it out on the internet. The whole story revolves around a totalitarian regime, a very strict government, and how somebody over there was surviving and what is it about? Wait, we are going to find it out in this story. Before this story, I've already completed my Freytag pyramid. The details of it I'm going to share with you towards the end. Okay, so I'll come to it in a while towards the end. Remember, it has to be pre-prepared. If you cannot afford to pre-prepare, I've also informed you about some tricks in the classes. Now let's start with the story. We shared a room, Winston and I. What did we share? We shared two metal beds, two thin blankets, and one flickering screen that never turned off. Like this is what I was telling you. The government is always monitoring you. You are under constant watch. All right. The sea breathed like a beast through wires and walls. City breathed like a beast is a simile here. Breathed like. And it was breathing through wires and walls. They were in a confinement. The character is in a cage, is prisoned, is behind the bars. And see that the city is breathing. Its breath are hot with commands, hot breath with commands, but and cold with consequences. Look at how beautifully this is alliterative. The city, see, breathed like a beast, is breathing through wires and walls, breath hot with commands, and cold with consequences. The consequences are stark. The consequences are bleak. The consequences are scary. And it is clearly mentioned that the commands are hot. They are always coming up hot in the sense they are always being dictated, and the consequences are real cold. Alliterative idea here. I'm just mentioning initials for your help. That they told us what to eat, how to speak, and when to smile. We had no liberty, and we did everything. One single word sentence mostly. We were doing it all the time. But Winston, I'm correcting it with a comma. He blinked slower. He stared longer. He was not rebelling, not in the way rebels do. He never raised his voice against the government. He never threw stones at the walls which were covered with Big Brother's face. This Big Brother is symbolic. I'm going to explain it again in a while and it will reappear what it is it symbolic of. So he was never throwing stones at his face. He was never raising voice against the government. But I watch him. I watch him hoard like rebellions do, like someone who has some secrets tugged under their tongue. So there was something on the tip of his tongue or tugged under his tongue, which he never spoke of. A yellow scrap of old newspaper, which he always carried. He whispered to himself. He was never talking, you see, he was doing nothing, but he was constantly whispering to his own self. Those whispers, which were inaudible, barely a breath, very momentary, but they were enough to make you think. He was carrying a storm in his chest, metaphoric. There is something huge, massive, like a storm happening in his chest, but he never spoke of it. And I kept on believing in him. In the small way, people believe that the bars won't always be humming on your head or the way people believe that cold, grey cage walls of this prison might someday crack, onomatopoeia, and metaphoric. I'm so sorry. Alliterative and metaphoric, that the walls will someday crack, that he would be the first domino. Metaphoric again. I watched him like people watch the sky for a sunrise. When they know that the sunrise will be slow, steady, but they are hopeful. I knew I had to wait for the inevitable to happen. And I know for that inevitable to happen, he will be the first domino. Domino effect, a card slipper and everything will collapse. Everything will change. For a big change, the first for the big change, for the big chain reaction, the first domino falls first. Now, this is also a godly, it is more godly way that he will be the first to take the first step and bring a huge change, despite the fact there is nothing happening in the first paragraph over here. Winston has done nothing, but somebody has faith in him, and somebody is waiting for something to happen. What is that something? We are finding it out in para number 2. Let's have a look at Freytag Pyramid. We are done with the first paragraph exposition. I'm using a yellow check point here, where we see that Winston notices every details. We have a metaphor over here, domino happening. The city was breathless and there was Big Brother and the city never blinked. Alliterations, the cold cage will crack someday. So, alliterations and metaphors you will find in this first paragraph. We are now going to move to rising action and see why somebody has a hope in it and what is somebody waiting for. Let's find it out. Life in the city, life here in the bars was not life at all. It was a rhythm without music. This is paradoxical. Two opposites connected together. This is antithetical statement. Antithetical statement में क्या होता है जैसे अभी ऊपर था कि the city breath hot with commands of Big Brother and cold with consequences. ठीक है? Now, life here in the bars was not life at all. It was a rhythm without music. What they can hear all day was the sound of boots, the fizz of static from the wall screens. Every time the screen walls were observing them and they could hear the fizz of the static of the electricity from the wall screens. They could olfactory imagery. What they could smell all day was the scent of disinfectant and despair, hopelessness. So this was only what was part of their life. We lived under the breathless gaze of Big Brother. When I'm saying breathless gaze, so it was never tiring, it was never taken away. His eyes never blinked. So you see, they were constantly being monitored. There was strict surveillance over them, even in the prisons. The Big Brother is symbolic of the totalitarian regime, the one man rule who is ruling everywhere, everyone, everywhere, and nobody dare say a word against him. So this is not the story of terrorism. This is the story of a strict government, a totalitarian regime where in democracy, nobody even can think of any liberty and democracy. They are in prison. The cell walls were our sky. We had to see for the whole day only the cell walls, metaphoric, were sky. Time passed in electric pulses. Now, what electric pulses are? This is what was hinted in para number 1 about the cold consequences. Bada bura anjam hota tha. So if anybody would breach the line, would cross the line, would do anything which is against the law and order, they had to be dealt or they had to be brainwashed. They had to be uh, given punished. They were given punishments. That of electric pulses, and the food that was given to them all day was just spoon fed meals. Obviously, no one was spoon feeding them. It was such little portions were given that they were barely alive. They were just surviving. Conversations were monitored. Anything that is happening is being monitored. Even silence over there had to be pure. Even if you are quiet, you should not be thinking, meditating. Everything has to be pure, pure as how the Big Brother wants. But Winston was different. His shoulders never slouched in submission. He never seemed to be submitting. He never seemed to be surrendering to these policies. He was quiet. but his shoulders remain never slouched. His eyes were constantly moving, but not shifting. They were defiant, they were confident, they were daring, and they seemed to be darting out everything. He was eyes wide open and he was observing every detail around him. I kept on studying his body language, studying it like a scripture. I studied it very carefully, constantly, all the time, simile of studying someone like a scripture with attention to detail. His jaw was clenched, showing her stern face. A lingering pause. Most of the time he was quiet, but he kept on noticing everything. And I was noting him patiently, carefully, and I was never tired of following him, never tired of noticing him, never tired of observing him. So this is some a story about someone who is waiting for something to happen, and he has all his faith and trust in Winston, expecting he will be the first domino to bring the change. Kya change? Change against Big Brother, change against the law, change against the government. So this is what the story about wait is. We are now going to see how things were in Rising Action. So in Rising Action, we find the life in prison, and we find that the bystander, the writer, is the writer who is the bystander because he's doing nothing as either. They are not allowed to do anything. So you see, everything is still in the story, and we see a life in prison. We will see now a climax where what will happen. Let's find it out in para number 3. The Silent Commandants, the corridor marshals, arrived one night. So those who have been observing us all the time, they were the marshals of the corridor. They arrived one night. They arrived. No alarms, no sirens, just a knock. कोई आवाज नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं, सिर्फ knock, and they entered. A mannered execution. ऐसा लग रहा था कि बड़े तरीके से, बड़ा disciplined उसका execution करने आए हैं. किसका? When the door opened, the corridor behind them glowed a sterile white, flooding white light behind those doors. Winston stood in the flood of light crashing against his stature. Again, visual imagery of the corridor when they came to take him away. Although he was speaking nothing, he was doing nothing. But you see, he was constantly thinking, and he has been monitored that he is up thinking something. Maybe he's trying to spy, maybe he will turn rebellious, maybe he has some plans against the government, and now he is caught. He is now caught by the commandants. He did not resist. He glanced at me once, and in just that one look, I read all the things which I still cannot name. They led him out and they sealed the door behind them. And now behind them, the air has thickened. He is unable to breathe. He feels suffocated. And he thinks the weight has begun to now stretch to aeons. It will never end, leaving him in the dark. The wait is going to be now long and merciless, and all he has to do is now wait. He can just do nothing. Winston has been dragged away by the commandants. Climax. Commandants take him away. Okay, this is we just write key ideas. Para number 4, following action. Unfold some mystery. Now behind Winston, time in this place is made of fog, shapeless and slow. This is a visual. This is visual of fog, and this is sheer metaphor. Well placed. He has no idea of the time. Maybe weeks have passed, or maybe months. And he returned one day. I'll enter this line here. He returned. When he returned, his body was in shape. It was just okay. It was intact. Nothing seems to have happened to his body. But something inside him has rearranged. He looks unharmed, but he is rearranged. He has now smiles. Smiles which have angles, broad smiles, too perfect, too clean. He was now talking. It seemed to be trimmed, but it seemed to be all scripted. उसको कुछ सिखा के भेज दिया. जिस इंतजार में मैं था कि कुछ चेंज हो जाएगा, आज वो इंसान चेंज होकर आ गया. Scripted, trimmed, स्माइल कर रहा है. He is praising the big brother like a hymn. उसकी तारीफें खत्म नहीं हो रही. He has started talking to the people. One, the man who was quiet and mysterious, जिसके ऊपर मुझे faith था, जिसके लिए मैं wait कर रहा था, that he will be the first domino, seems to be now talking like all of us to all of us. He turned into a blank bunkmate and he's mumbling and talking. He was the one who was always quiet with the darting eyes, was now mumbling to bunkmates. बातें कर रहे. He complimented the guards. तारीफें हो रही हैं. Winston, who once remembered the forbidden things, now repeated the same lines we had been fed. जो बातें हमें सिखाई गई थी, जो हमें बोलना था, जैसा हमें करने को कहा गया था, Winston seemed to be now one of us. He cannot be our God. He cannot be the domino. He cannot help us. He is no more our savior. Who is he then? He still seems sometimes silent, but it was no more dangerous. It was blank, like all of us. This is when I knew they did not take him. They have just not taken him away. They have rewritten him. He has been rehabilitated in the concentration camp, in the torture room with those electrical pulses. He has been rewritten. He can just now say nothing, think of nothing, and can bring us no change. Para number 5. We'll go to para number 4 and see how things are. So, in the cliffhanger where I've suggested you have to relax your audience. You have to give some spoilers. But your cliffhanger should be very strong. Let's see. The prison slept. Everyone is quiet की जगह लिख दिया the prison slept. Breathless still. अभी भी हम पे watch है. Still, I can see lights are flickering dim. There are twitching shadows everywhere of the lights. अंधेरा है लेकिन थोड़ी सी रोशनी है माइंड में रखना. Then in the hush, थोड़ी सी आवाज हुई. कोई सरसराहट, कोई थोड़ा सा sound. I saw it. A spark. A change. I saw it. Winston की आंखें opened, fixed on the poster of Big Brother. उस अंधेरे में, उस स्क्रीन की लाइट्स में, विंस्टन की आंखों में मुझे वो चमक, वो स्पार्क नजर आया. ही इज नॉट asleep when it is dark and dim and quiet. He is not asleep. He is up. His gaze is again fixed on Big Brother when nobody else is watching him. I watched him. His eyes were not blank. They were burning, burning with revenge, burning with desire, burning with a plan. I saw his fingers curled tight around the iron bed frame. I saw his temple where a vein was throbbing. There were no words. He was quiet, but there was against defiance. It was quiet, but it was alive. Beneath the silence, beneath the mask, beneath that masquerade, it it was there beneath the mask, beneath the masquerade. Something in me stilled. It is not asleep. He has not been rewritten. This is a renaissance waiting. इनकलाब आएगा. बहुत बड़ा change आएगा. It was I waiting, and now he is waiting for the time. He is waiting to bring the big change, but he is quiet. And the story stops. So in the cliffhanger, we finds out that he was just pretending to be normal, to be scripted, to be rehabilitated, but वो वैसा का वैसा ही है. उसको सब पता है. He knows. He still has a plan. He's quiet. Yes, you can say he is our Imran Khan. When I discussed this story with few students, they said, "Is it about Imran Khan?" I said, "Yes, I wish it is." Because, see, this is how it is a case with him as well, and how it is in reality with the people breathing in North Korea. It's true, right? So, this is how our story, which is all about wheat, is central. Now I'm going into evidence of planning. Topic ke niche, you should mention the full topic, mention the topic number, and copy out the line. Make your evidence of planning at least 6 lines long, at least the size of your palm. ये stupid suggestion इसलिए है because कुछ बच्चे इसको इतना tiny सा 3 lines का बनाते हैं कि it is barely readable. Please make it with a pen, strike it off with a pen. Spend 10 minutes. Please spend 10 minutes on your planning so that you when are writing you can think of some changes in the idea in front of you. Even I was making some changes while writing and I showed it to you कि देखो ये भी हो सकता है, ये भी हो सकता है. If you will not make evidence of planning, believe me, आपको बहुत अच्छा plan आ जाएगा, but तब तक you will be back home and then you will realize यार ये climax में क्यों नहीं किया, ये cliff hanger में क्यों नहीं किया. So you better do it like this. Figurative language की भी आपने अच्छी सी planning करनी है कि एटलीस्ट मैं अपनी स्टोरी में ये vocab यूज कर रही हूँ, ये ओनोमेटोपिया यूज करूंगा, ये एलिट्रेशन यूज करूंगी, ये आइडियाज यूज करेंगे. तो क्लिफ हैंगर, क्लेंच फिस्ट एंड स्पार्क इन आई. Oh, it seems like a heart, huh? A spark in eye. All right, this is how I have constructed this story for you. Yes, if you are good, if you are into reading, you will find this full story in the novel 1984 by George Orwell. I remember reading it in my college, in my university. But however, it had, I thought, an important second character, his lover, who made things work quickly and then he was caught and this and that. But this story is dystopian. Idea is completely extracted, not but inspired from George Orwell's 1984. But like I say, we are not writing it from the romantic point of view, how they were caught. And yes, he was planning to go against the government and the rule. So make sure after you are done with your papers, you read 1984 George Orwell. It's just a novella, not too long, 15,000 words max, and you will love it. Take care, students. I hope you like it. Acha, haan, I will zoom into paragraphs in case you need this idea. Para 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. Okay. Happy learning. Allah Hafiz.